things going on. So first of all, we have sent out an email with regard to the passing of Peter Cook. For us, felt a little bit sudden because I think we saw him about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And the report was always from Peter that he was doing fine, things were okay. I talked to his wife, Barb, a little bit earlier just to say, you know, if there's anything she'd like us to do, we'd be happy to pitch in and do whatever. I said that for us, it felt like a bit of a shock. And she says, no, they were totally prepared. They knew this was coming. And I always looked at her as being the quiet, timid one, sort of, because, you know, just used to Peter telling us what was going on. But she seemed very good. If anybody wants to attend, they do need to call Alexander Funeral Home and make an appointment. I've got one tomorrow at about 3:30 to go through, and then the funeral service will also be live streamed from St. Andrew's Church. So I'm not sure if you go on to the Alexander website, I think it'll give you the link into that. So caught us off guard for sure. And we wish the family all the best. As is the custom, we'll jump to something a little happier at the moment. So happy thoughts from anyone? Oops, Karen.
I just wanted to let everybody know that there's a new driver on the road. My 17-year-old granddaughter got her driver's license on Monday.
Thanks.
Good luck with that one. If you don't mind, Rick.
Not a happy thought, but a funny thought. I happened to be in the office last week when the Fries dropped in to drop their bingo cards off, bring the money in. And I happened to have a drawer open in the filing cabinet that had a rotaminder in there with their classification talk on the cover. It was very nice. It looked just as good as the day it was printed, but so I showed it to them. They didn't remember that, or I don't remember seeing it. But I said, when they see my classification talk, they'll laugh. And so I have to show it. If you can see that. It didn't stand up too well over the so some photocopies were good and some not so good. So I'm fading off into history. That's all.
So part of Rick's historical research is the what do you call it? The
chain of office.
Chain of office. So we pulled this out, and I agreed I would wear it for about that long.
It's pretty heavy.
It's heavy enough to give you a headache. It has back in 1921, R.L. Stratton's year, up to, I think it's 1997, Rob Watson's year. So it's quite a piece. I'm going to have it out on display at the Rotary office for the next little bit, if anybody wants to stop in. Just while we're staying with our happy thoughts, I'm going to ask Julia if she would play us a piece, if you wouldn't mind, Julia. Thank you.
Welcome.
I did ask Julia, sorry, terrible at this shit, if she wanted to say anything, and she figured she'd act like me. So we're going to pass on that for her. But we could always ask her to play something, and definitely remind us of Peter. So moving forward, our birthdays, as we said, for the month, we've got Donna celebrated a couple of weeks ago. Barry, well, we just know Barry's aging a little bit. Keith Dawson, and then our club anniversaries are Lori Marshall, Monica Rambour, and Rick Bednarik. So Rick is celebrating, I've got 15 years. So that paper you had, Rick, it's holding up pretty well. So at this time, I'm going to ask Donna if, oops, Andy, you have something?
Yeah, well, I'm wondering whether or not Karen would like to report on what kind of how hard she got hit in the eye.
Oh, this is, I had my left lens replaced this morning, 5 years after I had my right eye done. So
Hopefully things will balance out for you nicely then, Karen.
yeah, I have to play pirate for a while.
Yeah, but she's good enough to come to us with the camera on, so that's fine.
Well, there
Is what it is.
Wonderful thing, because I had mine done before Christmas, and sometimes I forget my glasses now.
So we'll ask Donna if she will introduce Allison to us.
Sure, and if you could pop your camera on, Allison. Just while she does that, just a really quick shout out. I don't know if you can really see the size, but these are our the child rotary mask. It's actually quite tiny, although it might be looking big held up. It's fun with this spring weather, with little ones coming in with their yellow rain jackets or their purple flashing boots, and the families have been quite glad to have this additional assistance during COVID to juggle all their family masks as they come and go. So again, thank you for that. Yes, and so it's my pleasure to introduce Alison Munroe. Allison is our very valued staff for Therapeutic Recreation. And you know, you might think about our services, thinking about speech therapy or physiotherapy, but to really highlight, parents place great value into what we call our enhanced services. And Allison works in an area where kids can apply their skills and participate and really start to really function and grow. So she has a very popular service. And I really thought it'd be nice to have you guys to have a bird's eye view of some feedback from frontline staff versus some of the talking heads you might see from Mike Genge and I representing the center and the foundation. I know just one thing to say about Allison before we start. Parents have told me that she really gets their kids, and I think that's a great compliment, that she understands, gets great relationships, and kind of draws the strengths out of our youth and teens and all ages. So over to Allison for some show and tell, and thank you.
Thanks, Donna, and thank you for having me today. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen and hope that you'll be able to see this. So if I just get a thumbs up when you are able to see it.
All good.
Good?
All good.
Perfect.
Good.
Awesome. So just before we get started here, therapeutic recreation can sometimes be a mouthful. So you may hear me say TR, therapeutic rec, or recreation therapy, but just know that they all mean the same thing kind of in this context, okay? So as Donna mentioned, I'm the recreation therapist at the treatment center. I have been at the center for approximately 6 years. Prior to working at the treatment center in Chatham, I was at the treatment center in Sarnia. So this has kind of always been my niche, kind of pediatric. So just to get started here, has anyone, show of hands, heard of therapeutic recreation or know anything about therapeutic recreation? No? All right, so what is TR? So therapeutic recreation at the treatment center is a service that provides children and families with recreation opportunities. Oh, I keep skipping. both, what's going on here? There we go. So both in center and in the community. So our programs are designed, as Donna mentioned, to help kids build skills, help to identify their leisure interests, develop lifelong learning and skills and knowledge in the areas of recreation leisure, and while simultaneously working on promoting those community readiness skills and that integration piece. So just to kind of build off that a little bit, for example, this program here, we have Ella, she's working on a fan bike. That would be an example of a program being held in the community. So that would kind of be that community integration, introducing her to a different leisure interest, in this case, kind of that wellness working out piece. And that one was held at the YMCA. Again, this one here on the right, we're out in the community in this one. This is a little girl at the Real Canadian Superstore Cooking School, kind of using her art expertise to create a gingerbread house. So as I said, we can do things in center, and we can also do things out in the community. So just some quick facts. So my caseload specifically, I deal with kiddos ages 3 to 21. So it's a pretty big scale. So ages 3 kind of to 6 would be those building block skills. So that would be more so those social skills, those cooperative play skills, so turn taking and sharing, basic swimming skills, all those kind of building block skills that kind of help them progress throughout rec and leisure in their lifetime. Another big part of the rec program at the treatment center is we can also assist with educating community partners and instructors. So what that means is, say we have a client on caseload and he's doing well in our programs, but parents say, I think he might be able to do okay, like in community swimming lessons or community guitar lessons. So we're able to go out and consult with instructors, coaches, whatever that might look like, to provide strategies to make sure and help that it's an inclusive environment. So again, this little guy right here, this is a picture of him completing a swimming block at the YMCA. So he's pretty proud because he kind of graduated out of our pool and into a bigger pool with other typically developing children. So some of the benefits to participating, obviously, as I mentioned, social skills are very, very big. A lot of our groups obviously promote that social interaction with peers and amongst families also. Inclusion and belonging. Often, right, our kids, the treatment center is a second home to them. Sometimes in the community, and it's not a fault to our community, but it's just kind of a learning curve that we're all trying to navigate through. Kids are turned away just because people don't know maybe how to adapt or modify programs to kind of help everyone. So in our programs, we really seek to find that inclusion and give kids kind of a sense of belonging. Lifelong learning, again, we're always working on skills and programs. So from that 3, it's those building block skills. And then kind of as they get older and mature a little bit, it's kind of switching to like independent living skills. So cooking skills, laundry skills, anything that's going to help promote and help them maybe one day be able to transition to their communities or live independently. Increased participation within communities. So again, we're always trying to kind of find that balance between community programs and programs housed right out of the treatment center. Emotional well-being and coping skills. I think this has probably never been more important throughout COVID. We've had a lot of parents say, just thank you, because this is kind of their children's only outlet, right? There's not a ton of extracurricular activities being offered right now. We are doing a lot virtually, but it just gives kids a safe space to come and be themselves and express how they're feeling. So that's been a big one throughout COVID. And obviously those family connections, right? We all know that we connect best with people who can kind of understand things that we are going through or things that we have experienced. So being able to connect families who maybe they both go to sick kids together, or maybe each of their children have CP. So being able to kind of connect those families so that they can kind of share their lived experiences with other families. And kind of that in a nutshell, treatment center, we've also often heard from a lot of families that it's kind of like a second home. It's a place where they can go, kind of the weights lifted off their shoulders. It's kind of a judgment-free zone, and their kids can just have fun and they can connect in whatever capacity that looks like for them. So some in-person program examples. So the way that our program works is we work in kind of a seasonal block system. So typically 4, obviously, seasons, and each season looks very, very different, kind of depending on weather, resources, our community partners. So this list here on the left would be an example of some of the in-person programs that we would offer. A couple really cool ones just to make note of. So for example, adapted dance in our Blacklight Theater program, drama, drum fit, and our music lessons. Those are kind of programs that usually happen in the spring. And on top of the kids attending kind of those 6 to 8 weeks blocks, at the end of those, we have parents attend the spring recital at the Pines, and that gives families again an opportunity to see their children's abilities showcased on stage. And it's a normalized experience, right? It's an experience that their peers often get to participate in through other music academies and dance studios in the city. But again, it's just a really, really neat thing that we like to do kind of at the end to, again, just showcase those abilities. So just to kind of give you a little brief explanation. So top right, we have, this is our Challenger baseball program. So every year at the very end of the season, we utilize the Fergie Jenkins Field or the Rotary Field, and we do a kind of an under the lights event. So what that entails is we get an announcer from a local radio station, and we kind of try to simulate like a Major League Baseball experience for the kids. So he announces every time they go up to bat. He kind of does a play-by-play as they round the bases. Obviously, there's always lots of fans and stuff in the stands, so that's a pretty cool experience for our kids. This little guy in the middle, he's attending our I Can Bike Camp. And believe it or not, that is a program that teaches kids to ride a two-wheeled bike independently in the course of 5 days. So it's a program that we partner with a company out of the States. And I don't know if you guys can see, it kind of looks like a rolling pin here. The back wheel's been replaced. So that rolling pin starts out really, really wide. And as kids get more stable and more confident on their bike, it's tapered smaller and smaller until eventually it's replaced with the actual bike wheel. So that's a pretty cool program. Even the progress, they attend for an hour and a half for 5 days. And by the end of 5 days, most kids are able to ride their bike independently, which is pretty cool. And then just the bottom here, this is our adapted sailing program in partnership with Erio Yacht Club. So it's called the Access Boom Program. And we do that every summer in adapted boats that can't sink or tip, sorry. And us, like many of you, had to kind of pivot secondary to COVID. So most, if not all of our programs have been virtual for the past year. So again, just some program examples. One of our kind of biggest accomplishments was the Camp to Go program. So we started that way back in, I think, April. And what that did was it provided families with like a kit system. So families would come to the center, pick up their kit, and then they would have activities outlined for each Zoom session each week. So kids would log on and we just kind of facilitate all of those programs and activities according to what was in their kit. Adapted dance, we've done food and fitness. We've kind of become, we joke that we've become kind of professional chefs. So we have accessories that kind of enable us to have our iPads and we cook underneath and the kids kind of focus and follow step-by-step what we're cooking on our second screen. Karaoke group, we've had Mad Science. Our music therapist has been able and successfully done music lessons one-to-one virtually, sensory art and science, Snack Attack, which is again an after-school kind of snack cooking program, special family events, which have been very, very well attended. So we did a group at Christmas and we're doing another one at Easter. This one's called Bunnies and Biscuits. And what this one is we partner with a local bakery and they provide us with cookie decorating kits. So we deliver them all to the families, the kids log on, we decorate cookies, we kind of have a holiday inspired night. And I think right now we already have 33 families registered for that one. So they're very, very well attended. Wellness Wednesdays, which is what you see here in the bottom corner. That's partnership with a local gym. And again, it's just kind of a wellness workout type group for kids, yoga, and then our Zumba social. So I won't go into super huge detail, but I want you all just to kind of read Chord's story. So Chord, he's a little kiddo that I provide services to, and he has a syndrome called Alagille syndrome. So I don't know if any of you received the butterfly bulletin, but he was featured in our last newsletter. But it is basically a condition that affects his liver, spleen, bones, and brain, and it causes him to have extreme itching almost all day. He often shows up to groups in pajamas just because it's a one-piece thing that doesn't allow him to be able to have access to his feet or his legs or his arms, right? He's kind of covered. So this is kind of a direct quote from his mom. So over the years, Chord has been lucky enough to find inclusion and a family at the Children's Treatment Center. After being told by several swimming facilities that they could not accommodate a child like Chord for lessons, he was welcome to learn at the center. Same thing with music. After being told by different music teachers that Chord did not have the strength to drag guitar, he was welcome to take ukulele lessons at the center. He's a pretty frequent user of all of our programs and really enjoys all of them. He's done things like drum fit, sledge hockey. He's done almost every virtual opportunity I think we've offered since last March. And they just really find hope and strength in that family, in that sense of community at the treatment center. So mom's been able to develop some lifelong friendships, and in turn kind of gain the confidence to preach about his story. It's a kind of a rare syndrome, so she likes to educate, and she now kind of has the confidence to be able to do that amongst the community and amongst his educators and that sort of thing. So and just kind of this last thing, so the spring recital is our family's favorite day of the year. Seeing the incredible hard work done by the students and staff is heartwarming. So that would be kind of that dance, drum fit, blacklight theater that I spoke about at the very, very beginning. So looking ahead, obviously we're always hoping and dreaming to expand our programs because caseload numbers aren't going down. So with the new build, we don't have a ton of space in the treatment center for rec specific stuff right now. So we, again, are doing a lot virtually, or we're always looking community partners to provide us with that multi-purpose space. So again, with more space comes the opportunity to expand what we can offer. In my dream world, again, further opportunities for integrated programming. So I would love to see 5 years down the road, just the treatment center become even more, that much more of a community center, right? Right now, it's typically a place where kids go for therapy, but I think slowly but surely, we're kind of breaking down those barriers and kids are excited to share with their friends, like, this is what I get to do in this building, right? So just kind of furthering that and maybe allowing the general community to be able to take advantage of our services a little bit more. And then again, just the expansion of our outdoor amenities. So right now we do have a park space, which is wonderful, but we don't have a huge field space. And a lot of the services, not all, but a lot of the things that we do access in the community require us to go out and do a site visit to make sure that there's like flush flooring, accessible washrooms, just an accessible space for kids to play and kind of flourish in. So looking ahead, those are kind of what we need and hope to have as part of the recreation and program and as it expands. So I'm just gonna switch gears here. Let me see Sid having in all her glory in our Challenger baseball program. And I'm just going to show you a quick video. Again, I'll just get a thumbs up when you can see it should be a black screen right now. Yeah, okay, perfect.
Initially, when children start, if they're younger,
Breathing.
initially when children start, if they're younger, they're looking at building block skills, but then it quickly turns a focus to
little.
To, well, how can I participate? How can I have fun, do things with family and friends? We're one of 20 children's treatment centers
The joys of virtual.
in the entire province, and we do assessments and do planning with the family for services such as speech and language therapy, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, audiology. We also have social work. And music therapy, therapeutic recreation, behavior consultation, some respite services. And with all of those, we see what needs the child and the family has, and then work on constructing a really nice plan to meet the goals that have been set. And really it varies depending on the age of the child and really what they're interested in, and what the goals and what is most important to the family.
They give my child opportunities that I might not be able to. Or necessarily even think to or really know how to go about giving that opportunity to them.
Whatever need they've had is just something part of their.
Okay, well, the joys of virtual, right? This is kind of a story of my life, just learning to pivot. So this is on YouTube, so maybe I'll send a link out to Donna after, and then she can maybe share it with all of you guys, just if you want to see kind of the whole version. But it is kind of cool. It kind of focuses on our swimming program, our sledge hockey program, our gymnastics program. So there is some pretty cool stuff in there. Which leads me to kind of my last slide. Does anybody have any questions? I knew I just threw a lot of information at you, and I'm typically a pretty fast speaker. So if anyone has any specific questions about programs or kind of how the program works, I would be open to answering those right now.
I have a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you can stop share screen, I can look at everybody on the screen, and I can pick up other questions from them, and we'll
Perfect,
ask you to ask your question and unmute. But I have a question. Before COVID hit, how many clients would you see in a week versus how much of that has now gone virtual?
As far as programs go?
Yes.
Sorry, you just cut out there a bit. 100% of our rec programs have gone virtual.
Okay.
Yeah.
And about how many clients would you see in a week?
In a week, I would say we usually do about 4 to 5 different programs a week. And I would say probably 35 to 40 kids at least per week. Some kids would be accessing multiple programs at a time. And we have, I'm not going to lie to you, our numbers have been a little bit lower with COVID. So I, on my case alone, have 170 kids. And in person, they're just usually well more attended, just because virtual, parents are seeing a lot of screen exhaustion. It just doesn't work for some kids, right? That attention level isn't there, which is fine. So numbers are a little bit lower, but they're still very well attended.
Thank you. Any other questions? Raise your hand. Donna?
Yep. Barry?
Allison, it's Barry here. Relative to what you just commented on from Brett, this morning I heard an interview on TV, and of course there was the increasing interest of getting schools going again everywhere. And a comment being made that this last year, a lot of students have fell back. I'll use it that way. How would you, thinking about your major pivot, yes, you did deal with all 100% of your students, clients. So what would you be your reflection on what has happened this last year to your demographic group?
Yeah, for sure. So I think initially, I mean, for all of us, it was a learning curve, right? So us trying to navigate the virtual world and vice versa. We have, though, over the course of like the last year, seen some good progressive skills for sure. Again, we can address a lot more when we are in person because, right, it's typically like an 8-child to 4-staff ratio. So we're always kind of 2 to 1 with kids. So we can kind of coach and instruct just that much more. We are still seeing kind of those social skills, kids reaching out virtually and saying, hey, like I noticed you like Minecraft. Would you ever want to play sometime online? So we're all kind of adapting, but kids are kind of thinking outside the box as far as how can I connect with peers virtually, I guess, right? Because it's kind of the new norm for them. So again, we would be able to address more in person, and that would be the ideal situation, I think, for all of us and all the people on my team. But we definitely are able to address some skills, goal areas virtually, which has been good.
And I would just have a follow-up. I would assume that all of your contact has been virtually one-on-one.
Nope. So we do one-on-one sessions, and we also do actually primarily in group sessions. So enabling kids to connect with one another over Zoom or Teams, whatever that looks like. Yeah.
Donna.
Allison, I was just thinking that making sure that we put the invite out to Rotary for evenings such as the arts recital when that's back up and going, and Challenger Baseball Under the Lights, because it is great. We've had, upwards to a couple hundred people out, and it's been a great time to be part of the community. I just wondered if you might reflect as we look forwards to the possibilities of our adapted outdoor field, such as baseball. What's a few adaptations that you think would be part of that we just aren't able to have now on our current playing field?
Yeah, no, for sure. So I think the biggest one would be, primarily my caseload is children that have developmental needs, but there is definitely a percentage who kind of have that physical piece and are in chairs or power chairs. And right now, one of our biggest struggles is no dugout is flush like to the ground or the playing field. So any kid who is ambulatory is able to sit in that dugout with their teams, but kids who are in chairs aren't able to. So for example, when we're at Fergie Jenkins, we always have to have kind of the kids in chairs to the right of the dugout. Same thing at our Kinsman Diamond, there's a lip on the dugout, so the kids aren't able to sit in there with their peers. So anything that's flush, so flush dugouts, even flush bases, so that chairs can easily and accessibly get around the bases, right? Normally, like a typically developing child, but not having to worry if their chair is going to get stuck or hit a bump or that sort of thing. And obviously, a lot of our kids are visual learners, right? So anything that kids could look at that would help them that learning and to help them, for example, be able to know which way to go or what to do would be super, super helpful as well. As I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of heavily attended programs, and Challenger Baseball and our spring and dance programs would be kind of two of the biggest ones. And it would be awesome even just to have the space outdoors to be able to host big events like that, like at our center. So like an outdoor field that would allow for families to come and connect, and we could do like a dance or a little show there, right? Just really zoning in on that accessibility, obviously, and thinking about all needs and all abilities for sure.
Any other questions? Okay, I think we've got all the questions. If anybody raises your hand, just give me a wave and we'll get you in there. Allison, we want to thank you very much for the presentation. At some point, hopefully Rotary's maybe going to assist with part of your wish list, and we certainly help. When you see the faces of like Chord and the other kids there, it's like, how can you not want to help these kids in any way you can so that they can enjoy life the way they should. So thank you very much for presenting to us. We do very much appreciate it. And now just a couple of other notes. So Next week, our speakers are Dave Notbert and Doug Thompson. They're going to be talking to us about a bike ride across Canada in support of aid to Nicaragua. And I know Doug Thompson's a Rotarian out of Stratford, I believe. And so we're looking forward to that. Also next week, if anybody has a Peter Cook story, I would appreciate, we're going to take a few minutes just to remember Peter at that point. And we may have another song or two that will pop up, and hopefully I can get through that. The other thing we're doing is the CMHA. We have been working with a committee with CMHA with regard to both Mental Health Week and Ride Don't Hide. And so those events are really coming together. I think the advanced time that we spent with them has really helped out. We're at the point now for their Ride Don't Hide event where if any of us have anyone, a company, we're looking kind of for a corporate sponsorship. So if you could, if something comes to mind, send me a message and I'll pass it along to Taylor from CMHA, and we'll make contact. Our Rotary Club has kind of brought in the other clubs in Chatham, Kent. We had a good meeting on Monday night, and we had all but one club was there, and we are going to join together to be one of the corporate sponsors to Ride Don't Hide with, at this time, all but one, although I think the other one will jump on board once they hear. It has been a difficult time for some of the clubs in their fundraising, so they don't always have as much right now to move forward. We will be able to gather enough, I think, to get us on a Rotary Clubs of Chatham, Kent. But that's only part of it. So the other part is we need to go out and join the Ride or Walk Don't Hide event. And that's going to be a virtual event done in June. And we'll join Team Rotary. It's called Team Rotary Chatham, Kent. And then we'll join the Chatham team as a sub team from that. And we'll just sort of challenge each other with about how far we could walk or ride or whatever. And we'll have that in coming up in June. But Taylor from CMHA is going to talk to us in a couple of weeks' time, 3 weeks' time, I think it is, and let us know both on mental health as well as the Ride Don't Hide program. So we're looking forward to that. One other request, I've had a few people have talked to me, quite anxious to get our Keep in Touch so that we are better in touch with some of those that aren't able to make it. Problem is, as usual, I need to tap somebody on the shoulder to get them to head it up. We've got 3 or 4 people that are already saying they would like to be part of it, but just nobody wants to head it up. So I might be reaching out to see if anybody could spearhead that a little bit more, or if you'd like to volunteer, please let me know. I think that's it. Does anybody have anything? Oh, and with regard to 100th anniversary, I'm going to try and put it together for a meeting, just relatively brief tonight, just to touch base and see who can make it. It's not always the best time for all of us, so we just take who we can get when we can get. And but I'll send that out this afternoon. All right. I think Julia, do you have one more song for us, please, or 2 maybe? Thank you, Julia. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And if you've got some stories for next week, we would love to hear them. Stay safe, everybody.